Hello everyone, this is Dr. Madhusudan Rao. On the program, I teach medical students. Today in this lesson, I'll briefly touch on the optic nerve, the clinical examination. We are briefly going to deal with this particular nerve that benefits the students of pediatrics and medicine. This lesson is not for the students of ophthalmology. Well, during the course of the clinical examination of central nervous system, we touch on the examination of this particular nerve, which comprises of looking for the visual acuity, field of vision, and the color vision. So visual acuity evaluates the functional integrity of the entire visual pathway, starting from the retina to the visual center in the occipital lobe, and also the integrity of the structures like cornea, lens, and vitreous humor. Well, it should be remembered, visual acuity evaluates only macular vision. Distance vision is tested by Snell chart and the near vision by the Jaeger chart. So this is the Snell chart for the distance vision. This is for the near vision. This is for the distance vision. Well, coming to the optic now, what is this now? It is sensory now, purely sensory and sensory afferent. All sensory nerves are afferent nerves. They take the impulses from the periphery to the brain. Transmits visual information from retina to the brain. As such, this particular nerve is a part of the central nervous system because it develops as the outpouching of the diencephalon. Number one, it is covered by the myelin sheath, which is produced by the oligodendrocytes. In addition, it is lined by the meninges and it is not affected by GVS. So it is a part of the central nervous system. Consider that. Well, it starts as the axons of the ganglion cells. Which form the optic nerve. Then ends in the optic chiasma, enters the optic chiasma. Decussation of the nasal fibers there continues as optic tract to the lateral geniculate body. From there, it enters the optic radiation, finally reaches visual cortex in the occipital lobe. How is it? The axons of the ganglion cells in the retina form the optic nerve. From there, they enter the optic chiasma. In the optic chiasma, there is decussation of the nasal fibers. They reach the lateral geniculate body and enter the optic radiation, finally reach the visual center in the occipital lobe. This is the visual pathway. There are few fibers from the lateral geniculate body that enter the pretectal nucleus in the midbrain, which are responsible for light reflex. Tested for acuity vision, color vision, accommodation, and light reflex. The fundus examination for presence of papilledema, retinal hemorrhages, the red flag signs of raised intracranial tension, and subarachnoid hemorrhage, or any pathology as a matter of fact in the retina. So this is the few important points students should remember. So, optic nerve is the special visual sensory afferent, transmits visual information from retina down to the brain. The axons of the ganglion cells in the retina, they form the optic nerve. In the optic chiasma, deposition of the nasal fibers occurs. Then optic tract is formed, which enter the lateral genicular body and continue as optic radiation. Finally, reach the occipital lobe into the visual center. Few fibers, as I told you, they go from the lateral genicular body to the pretectal nucleus to mediate the light reflex. Okay, that's how the pathway of the optic nerve. Optic nerve is tested for acute vision, color vision, accommodation, and light reflex. Fundus examination for the presence of papilledema, retinal hemorrhages, and the red flag signs of raised intraocular intention and subarachnoid hemorrhage, etc. Then look at the eyeball. It is got three layers. That is, outer layer is the sclera, middle layer is choroid, and inner layer is retina. Then you see the anteriorly, the cornea, then you got the ciliary body, ciliary muscles down there, and you got the anterior chamber and the lens, all right, vitreous body here in the posterior segment. You got the hyoid canal, and you got the retinal vessels, retinal artery, and the vein. Here. You got the visual axis and optical axis. Visual axis terminates directly into the fovea centralis. Yeah, this is the visual axis. Then, for our purpose, pupillary light reflex is very important as a clinician, as students of medicine and pediatrics. How do you do the pupillary reflex? Pupillary light reflex. So before that, let us know what is the pathway for the pupillary light reflex. There are one afferent nerve and two efferent nerves, because a reflex arc should have an afferent limb, center, and the efferent limb. Okay. In this, for the pupillary light reflex, the afferent is optic nerve, the efferents being ipsilateral and contralateral oculomotor nerves. How the pathway is formed. The afferent optic nerve carries the impulses through the optic nerve via the lateral genicular body to pretectal nucleus in the midbrain, which innervates the Edinger-Westphal nucleus of both the sides. That means the fibers of the optic nerve, okay, they diverge from the lateral genicular body to enter the pretectal nucleus, which in turn innervates Edinger-Westphal nucleus of the both the sides. From there, efferent parasympathetic fibers supply the pupillary constrictions of both the eyes. You remember this. When you stimulate the eye, when you stimulate the optic nerve of one eye, it causes the constriction of pupils on both sides. Right? This is an important point. When you stimulate one eye with the light, it causes the constriction of both the pupils. Oculomotor nerve lesion causes loss of both direct and indirect light reflex, whereas optic nerve lesion results in loss of direct light reflex only. Then how it is? We'll show the diagram. Look at the examiner is focusing the light on the left eye of the patient. Left eye of the patient. This is the right side, right of the patient. This is the left eye of the patient. So it stimulates the retina. Optic nerve is stimulated, carries the impulses to the pretectal nucleus. From there, these are the Edinger-Westphal nuclei. The impulses reach the Edinger-Westphal nuclei of both the sides, like this, left and right. From there, efferents start, they go and supply the pupillary constrictors, that is ciliary muscles, to cause the pupillary constriction. Well, when you stimulate the eyeball, when you stimulate the eye by focusing the light, you should focus the light from the lateral side of the eyeball, not directly. Then impulses reach the pretectal nucleus here. From there, they go to the Edinger-Westphal nucleus of both sides. Efferents from there reach the pupillary constrictors of both the eyes. That means when you focus the light on one eye, it will cause the constriction of the pupils on both sides. Okay, understood? Then, if you cut off the optic nerve here, optic nerve lesion, you are cutting off the valley of afferent impulses that are going along the afferent nerve, that is optic nerve. That means there is no impulse reaching the center. That is, the center for the pupillary reflex is pretectal nucleus and the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Okay? No impulse is reaching the center. So the efferent is not activated. So that results in direct as well as the absence of direct reflex. Because optic nerve is cut off, no impulse is reaching the center. Okay? So as such, there is no efferent stimulus to cause the pupillary constrictor. What is direct reflex and what is indirect reflex? This has to be understood clearly. Listen to me. You are testing the right eye of the patient, for example. Okay? This is this testing eye. The direct reflex in this particular eye is tested by focusing the light on this eye and looking for the response in the same eye. That is direct response. When you stimulate the eyeball of the opposite side and look at the pupillary constriction in the testing eye, that is right eye, it's called indirect reflex. Okay? You can remember that you are testing a particular eye. With reference to this particular eye only, you have to describe the direct reaction, direct light reflex and indirect light reflex with reference to the testing eye. Got it? So in this eye, direct response is consisting of the testing eye when light is focused on that particular eye. When you focus the light on the opposite eye and the testing eye shows the response. This is called indirect response. So in the optic nerve lesion, direct reflex is absent, whereas indirect response is present. Because you are stimulating the opposite eye, afferents are reaching the center, and in turn, efferents are taken up by the oculomotor nerve, third cranial nerve, to reach the pupillary constriction. There is afferents from the opposite eye, the efferents reaching along the oculomotor nerve to cause the pupillary constriction of the testing eye. So indirect is present, but the direct is absent in optic nerve lesions. Is it clear? Well, if in the oculomotor nerve lesion, when you stimulate the testing eye, the afferents are going to the center and there is a block for the efferents to reach along the oculomotor nerve to reach the pupillary constrictors of the testing eye. That is the reason why in the oculomotor nerve lesions, both direct as well as the indirect light reflex is absent. Because oculomotor nerve is the common pathway for the efferent, for the direct as well as the indirect light reflex. So in oculomotor nerve lesions, both direct and indirect reflex is absent. Whereas optic nerve lesions results in the loss of direct pupillary response. Hope it is clear to you. Then coming to Argyll-Robertson pupil. What is it? AR pupil. What are the features? Argyll-Robertson pupil is usually bilateral, number one. Pupils are small in size, number two. Margins are irregular, okay, number three. Number four, accommodation reflex is present, but the light reflex is absent, both direct as well as indirect. The site of lesion is in pretecal region in the dorsal midbrain. The cause of the lesion is neurosyphilis. Though rare, currently increasing in prevalence. That is about the Argyll-Robertson pupil. Where is the center of the lesion? Is in the upper midbrain, causing the damage to the pretectal nucleus. So that is the reason why accommodation reflex is present, light reflex is absent, both direct as well as indirect. Look at this picture. It shows the eyeballs, pupils not responding to light. Pupils do not constrict when exposed to bright light. Light reflex is absent. Whereas pupils do constrict on a near object. That is, accommodation reflex is present. This is how the Argyll-Robertson pupil look like and their response to accommodation absent light reflex. Well, this is a brief talk on the optic nerve and the light reflex. My dear students, hope this is clear to you. Most of the students, they make a mistake with regard to the light reflex. They get confused with the direct and indirect light reflex. They think indirect reflexes are you focus the light on the testing eye and look into the opposite eye, but that is not the case. You confine yourself to the testing eye. Direct response is the response of the testing eye for the focus of the light on that particular eye. And its response when you focus the light in the opposite side is called the indirect response. Okay? That means you be mindful that you are talking in terms of the testing eye, either the direct reflex or the indirect reflex. Okay? If you understand this point, it is very easy to say optic nerve lesion causes the loss of direct reflex. Oculomotor nerve lesion results in the loss of direct as well as the indirect response. Okay? Thank you very much for patient listening. We'll meet again next class. Until that time, bye bye.